A few months ago, I finally bought a camera that was supposed to end my run with Canon. And I'm not new to this. I've switched camera systems more times than anyone I know. I started out on Nikon, then I went to Sony, tried some Panasonic, then went to Blackmagic, and now I'm on Canon. New gear for me genuinely gets me excited. A new camera makes me want to go out and shoot, try things I haven't tried, see what I can pull out of this new gear. But here's the thing, I've been on the same Canon kit for over 5 years now, which for me is basically like an entire lifetime. So when the itch showed up to try something new, well, I didn't just start browsing. Instead, I actually clicked buy and I bought the camera. Now, let me explain that itch that pops up. I think if you've ever dealt with gear in your life, you've probably felt this itch before, where you're just like, I think I need to try something new. A lot of times you can think it's boredom or just gas gear acquisition syndrome. I don't think it's that though. Here's the thing. Every camera I've owned has basically started with the same first month. I shoot more, I try weirder stuff, I take it places that I wouldn't have dragged my other camera to. A new tool like this just kind of resets something in my brain, and a lot of my favorite work has come from this reset. So when people say that like gear doesn't matter, I mean, I half agree. I know that the camera doesn't make the shot. It's not what really matters here, but a new camera absolutely makes me go out and take more shots. But here's my actual situation though, because I run basically two kinds of shoots. I've got the client work on one hand. They get the full cinema rig, the whole build out, lights, camera action, all of that stuff. So I've got like the wireless monitors, the big lenses, all that stuff. Clients really, whether you like it or not, they like seeing that. And so I have it around and use it, not only because it works well, but because it actually helps me with my job. But then there is everything else, which is the YouTube content like this. That means going out and about, car videos, tech videos. For all of that, the full rig that I use for corporate work, it just is the wrong answer. It's frustrating to use in that sense. And so really for years, I've been wanting something simple, something that I could just quickly grab, use, but get the same or similar quality to my full cinema rig. Canon just has not made that camera, not in the way I've wanted it at least. Really, Sony has owned this category for years. The FX3 has become the default small cinema camera for a reason. And well, if I were starting from zero today, probably the Sony route is where I would land. But actually the camera I bought is this. The Nikon ZR. Now, if you missed it, quick context here. Nikon bought Red a couple of years ago, the actual Red camera, like the cinema camera company, and the ZR is their first camera where that purchase really starts to show up. And on paper, it kind of seems unfair, honestly. You get the small full frame body. It's around $2,200, so it's not that expensive. You get raw internal, Red's color baked in, all of the things that you want from a Red camera, you kind of get baked into this really small compact device. And for me, really, it actually checked almost every single box on my list. So you get the high quality, it is genuinely small, you get great color. So I ordered one, and for a bit it lived in my bag. I use it a lot. But here's the thing, the ZR is a good camera, great even. I mean, the files are beautiful, the size is exactly what I wanted to walk around with. If it had shown up with nothing else attached, well, I'd probably be a full-time Nikon shooter right now. But here's the thing, cameras like this, they never show up alone. It actually shows up with a whole bunch of things behind it, an entire system. And actually living with it is what made me do the math I'd been kind of avoiding for months. The biggest cost here is, well, the cost, the actual money, because the body is actually the easiest part of this whole equation, because making the ZR my real main camera means replacing my glass, my batteries, my media, my rigging, and paying for all of that means selling all my Canon gear used, which is, 25 to 35% off the cost I paid for it, which means I'm going to be losing money there. For me, that ended up being thousands and thousands of dollars out of my pocket just to basically land where I already am when it comes to quality and shooting. And then we have the second cost, which is the one that no one really puts on a spreadsheet, which is that my hands are perfectly tuned to using Canon. After all these years, I know exactly how to use these cameras. I could do it with my eyes closed. I don't need to know where buttons are or what menus do. I could just operate the camera incredibly quickly. When I was using the ZR or really any new camera, I have to think about what I'm doing. Now, obviously, over time that will change and I'll get used to it just in the same way, but that is a big change to consider. It signs you up to be a beginner again for months with very expensive gear. And then there's a third cost, which isn't the end of the world, but it's certainly something to consider. And it's that for the last, 5+ years, my footage on my drives are all basically the same. It's all Canon footage. My LUTs are built around it. My grading habits are all built around it. And I pull old footage all the time for these videos. And the day that I switch cameras, now I have to consider, hey, what camera did I shoot this on? Is it going to match? How am I going to color it? It just has this added layer of complexity. But here's the thing, even with all of that in mind, I still think the ZR direction where cinema cameras like this get really small and really good is exactly where the market is going and also where I'm headed as well. And so I was just fully ready to eat all that cost, all those things that were going to be a bit of a pain for a little while, just so I can make the switch and get a ecosystem that I thought I would be happier with. But then in May, Canon did something I didn't really see coming. But real quick before we continue, I want to talk about this thing I'm holding here. You'll notice it's actually not connected to anything, but this is the microphone I'm using right now. This is the Maono PD200W, and well, it's wireless. Here's the thing about audio. When you're creating content like this, viewers can forgive a lot when it comes to visuals, but if the sound is bad, that's a lot tougher. I mean, I just spent all this time talking about swapping cameras, and honestly, the audience, you would never be able to notice the difference in the end result. But on the sound side of it, it's kind of the opposite. It's the cheapest part of your setup to fix, and it's also the first place people are going to notice when you don't. And so that's exactly what this is for. And so that's where this comes in. You've been listening to it this entire time. It's a proper 30mm dynamic capsule, the kind that you would use for podcasts in a studio, but it also happens to go wireless. And Maono claims that there's basically no difference between this thing wired and wireless when it comes to quality. And after using it for a few days, well, I haven't noticed a difference at all. But what's great is that this connects in 3 different ways. So you got wireless over a little USB-C receiver, so nothing will cross over your desk. You can put the mic wherever you want it, and it's going to be clean. And you can also use this wireless connection to go right into your camera. Then you got plain USB, so you can plug this into a phone, a tablet, a laptop, or whatever you're recording onto on the road. And then you get this actual full-size XLR when you want it to run into like an audio interface with everything else in the studio. And it will even run wired and wireless at the same time on separate tracks, which means you've got a backup recording of everything without ever even thinking about it. You get the same mic with 3 different setups. And so it'll grow with your gear instead of you having to constantly replace it, which, given the whole theme of what I've been talking about, it makes a lot of sense. But the thing I think you'll actually notice day to day is the recording quality, because this has a cardioid pickup plus 3 levels of noise canceling. And my room is not acoustically treated at all, and most rooms aren't, honestly. And this keeps your voice up front without the room noise being in the recording, so it's super helpful. And when it comes to specs, you get things like 60 hours of battery with these lights off, which you can turn off or change or adjust however you'd like. You get a gain knob up top where you can mute on the body, and there's an app if you want to dial everything in, like EQ, all the noise cancellation, change the colors of the RGB, all of that. And if you have a friend or someone else you want to record with, you can actually record with 2 of these into one single receiver. So you really get a lot of flexibility. So if you want to upgrade your audio, right now is the perfect time. In fact, Amazon Prime Day is happening from June 23rd through the 26th, and the PD200W will have a huge discount. If you've been putting off fixing your audio because maybe you thought it was just going to be too expensive, well, this thing right here, this is the move. In May, Canon announced this, the EOS R6 V. It's their first full-frame camera in the V series, which is like their video first line, and it is almost line for line the camera I have been waiting for Canon to make. This thing is built like a small cinema camera. There's no viewfinder, no mechanical shutter. There's a real cooling fan in the body, a tally lamp on the front so you know you're actually recording, a record button on the face for when you're the one in frame. You got waveform, false color, zebra, the same exposure tools as Canon's actual cinema line. It just isn't pretending to be a hybrid. And that's exactly why I love it. It can shoot in 7K open gates at 30 frames per second, so you can pull various different clips out of the same frame without like losing your mind. You get 4K 120 for slow motion, Canon Log 2, which matches all my other Canon cameras, and 15 stops of dynamic range. And because of the fan, Canon is claiming that you're going to get over 2 hours of continuous recording, even in like the summer heat, whereas the R6 Mark III, which is basically the non-cinema version of this camera, will tap out a lot quicker than that. that. And it comes in at $24.99. The FX3, if you buy it new, is much more than that. The ZR is, you know, a little cheaper than that, but very similar. Canon walked in and priced this right in between those two options. And for me, ooh, this looks like a winner. And what really sealed the deal for me is I realized, hey, I could buy this one camera for just over $2,000 and it'll fit right into my ecosystem, or I can instead spend, you know, $8,000 and change everything I already know. It just didn't start to make that much sense. This actually fits the hole in my setup that I had, and it closes it. Now there's the kind of elephant in the room here. I haven't shot with the camera. It ships at the end of June, and yes, I am getting one. And there's a few things here that you got to kind of consider going into a new camera, but I think this is exactly what I was looking for. And well, if it disappoints me, well, I'm going to come right back here and say, actually, I'm ditching Canon. I'm going to a different system. But on paper, this is the one. And it showed up with the brand I happen to actually already be using. But here's the thing. This has nothing to do with Canon, Nikon, Sony, any of the others. That itch I described at the start is real. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise, because chasing new gear has actually made me a better shooter more than once. But in thinking through this, it kind of separated two different things that I was treating as one for years. And it's wanting new energy or wanting new capability. New energy is kind of cheap. You get a lens that you've never used before, a format that maybe you're not used to, a new body that dropped and it's in a system you already know. You get all the experimentation without really any of the demolition. New capability, though, is different. If your system genuinely can't do the job in front of you, well, you got to switch. You got to find a better solution. I've done this many times, 5 times, maybe 6, and I don't regret it doing it a single time, because every move I did brought me something that I couldn't do where I was before. This time, though, it wouldn't have. I went back through all of my videos that I've shot on Canon just to see, you know, hey, what am I really trying to do here? Was I not able to accomplish it on my current gear? And a lot of times they're really good because, well, the light showed up in the right place, or because I was in the right place at the right time, or because my gear, well, I knew it well enough to be able to react to the moment before it ended. And I think of this video I shot back when the Rivian R1T was announced. We got a loaner and we went out to the desert to film it. And this is right when I got my C70 for the first time. And I know for a fact I did not know how to use this camera. I was using it technically the wrong way, but when you watch it, these are still some of my favorite shots because the location, the planning, the thought behind the shoot, well, it just worked out. And so the rule I'm kind of starting to land on is that you got to scratch that itch that pops up, but you can do it in different ways. It doesn't mean you just got to go buy a new camera. So after more than 5 years, well, I'm doing the thing I've really just never done before. Instead of switching and trying something new, I'm staying exactly where I am. Adding to it with the R6 V when it ships in June, which mine is definitely coming. But really, before I go and switch and spend a ton of money I don't need to, I'm just going to stay where I am. And I think it's probably going to be for the better, or at least I hope.